Welcome to my kitchen. I'm Steve, and in this episode of Cooking with Love, I'm going to show you how to make Irish soda bread. Soda bread is a type of quick bread, and that means that as a leavening agent, it uses baking soda instead of yeast to cause the bread to rise. Now, this became very common in Ireland during the Great Famine, or the Great Hunger, which occurred in 1845 to 1852. They needed to have some type of daily bread that was inexpensive to make. Eggs and butter and other foodstuffs were very hard to come by. So they used 4 ingredients to make their Irish soda bread. It was salt, baking soda, soured milk, and soft wheat flour. The soft wheat flour could be grown in Ireland because of the climate, but actually most of the soft wheat flour came as imports from the United States. They used soured milk because it was very cheap to obtain. Once milk has gone bad, it was very little use in the dairy industry, but the people of Ireland did find that you can use it for cooking, and they used it for cheeses, and they also used it to make bread. What we're going to do today is make one very traditional loaf of Irish soda bread, which is also known as brown bread. And this again is only made with the 4 ingredients, but instead of soured milk, we're going to be using buttermilk. The other bread we're going to do is a variation of the traditional recipe, and this is more Americanized. It's also a little tastier, it's sweeter. And we're going to include caraway seeds and dried currants in this bread. It's also, instead of being made with wheat flour, we're going to make it with all-purpose and cake flour combination. All right, let's get started. The ingredients we need to make our traditional Irish soda bread or brown bread are whole wheat flour, all-purpose flour, baking soda, salt, and buttermilk. We sift all the dry ingredients together first before we add the buttermilk. The salt and baking soda. And we sift it together to make sure all the ingredients are well combined, and we're introducing a little bit of air into the mix to make it lighter. Just give it a stir. We want to make sure the salt and the baking soda is well distributed. And next we're going to add our buttermilk and mix it until it just comes together as a dough. You don't want to overmix this. I've started with 2 cups of the buttermilk, which looks like it's going to be enough, but you may find, because of the strength of your flour and the humidity in the air, that you might have to add a little more buttermilk to get it to come together. But this looks like it's come together nicely, and I'm going to switch over to using my hands. It's a soft, slightly sticky dough. I'm going to turn it out onto the flour board. Add a little more flour. All right, now that our dough is kneaded and made into a round, we're going to place it onto a baking sheet. And I'm using a silicone baking mat, but you could easily just use a grease sheet. And then it's tradition to cut a cross in the top of the bread. Now, the Irish were very religious, and they thought that placing a cross on top of their bread would prevent it from evil. And the older Irish folk used to think that putting a cross in it would prevent the fairies from ruining their bread. My oven is preheated to 400 degrees. We're going to put it in for 30 minutes and then check it. Our bread has been cooking for about a half hour now. I'm going to test the center of it. And you can see that the toothpick is clean. So this bread is done. I'm going to put it out on a rack to cool. And the other thing that we want to do is to check the bread, and it sounds hollow. The ingredients we need to make the other version of the soda bread are all-purpose flour, cake flour, dried currants, caraway seeds, salt, baking soda, and cream of tartar, and the buttermilk. I didn't point out before, the reason we're using buttermilk is acidic. And in order to activate the baking soda, you need an acid. Again, in the old days, they used soured milk, which was very acid. We use buttermilk today. It's definitely more appealing. And we're also, in this recipe, we're using cream of tartar. Cream of tartar is another type of acid that's going to help it activate and cause the bread to rise a little bit more. Now, technically, this white version of soda bread is not a soda bread. It's really a tea cake. An authentic soda bread consists of only 4 ingredients. Again, it's wheat flour, it's the soda, the baking soda, salt, and buttermilk. Anything that has more ingredients than those 4 is technically a tea cake. Similar to the brown bread that we made, I'm going to sift all the ingredients together. So firstly, all-purpose flour, the cake flour, the salt, baking soda, and the cream of tartar. This gets sifted together. We're going to give this a stir to make sure that the salt and baking soda, cream of tartar are mixed in well. Then we add our caraway seeds. And our dried currants. Now, there's a lot of Americanized versions of this white soda bread. Some of them have egg and butter in them. In my opinion, they're more like a cake than they are like a bread. So I've tried them, and I keep coming back to this semi-traditional one. In Ireland, this recipe is called spotted dog, and it was very common. Caraway seeds were not common. Adding the currants to the white soda bread was common. Caraway seeds is strictly an American version. All right, now we're going to add our buttermilk. Once again, we want to just mix this until it comes together. I'm going to switch over to using my hand. I'm going to add a little bit of flour to it. It's a little sticky, a little too wet. And that's better. That's come together. Now you could turn this out on a floured board to knead it, but I think this is ready to go right onto the baking tray. And the same tradition applies. We're going to cut a cross on the top. And the oven is still at 400 degrees. This goes in for 30 minutes. Both of our soda breads have been cooling on a rack covered with a towel. We're going to cut them now. And I'm going to just give this a little taste. Very good. The crust is just a little bit firm. The center is very soft. It's a savory bread. I usually make brown soda bread to go with Irish dishes like Irish stew, a Dublin coddle, potato and leek soup, an Irish fried breakfast, corned beef and cabbage, whatever. It is a savory bread, and it used to accompany many, many Irish dishes. Very delicious. Now, the white soda bread is definitely a little bit sweeter because of the currants. Again, the crust is a little bit firm. You can taste the sweetness from the currants. The caraway seeds adds a whole different additional flavor. The center is light. Very, very nice. This Irish soda bread or tea cake, I typically will serve it for a breakfast or snack or tea in the afternoon, usually with some butter and jam included. Really delicious. Well, hopefully you'll make these. These are very simple and easy to make. That's why they're called quick breads. Hopefully you'll give it a try, and let us know what you think. Leave a comment. Any questions about the soda breads, leave a comment, and we'll see you next time in the next episode.